Alright everyone, this is Brian with Grove Towers. This is Tuesdays at the Towers and it is October 13th, 2020. So today is just going to be a bit of chatting, discussing whatever you want to talk about. Hello, Carl G1. How are you doing today, Carl? Are there any specific topics you'd like to discuss or hear about today? The market is a very volatile thing, to be honest. I think that it's kind of crazy how much it's affecting it this cycle. It usually does not affect things as badly as it has been over the past few releases. In my personal opinion, I think that Nvidia purposefully limited the number so they could increase demand, causing an increase in profits by keeping prices high. They can sell these cards to their normal vendors who can then sell them for a marked up price. It's my personal opinion. I don't have any contacts or leaks or anything like that I can point to. It's just personal thoughts. My personal opinion is that the GPU market right now is fluctuating because everybody was hyped up about the new cards, and then they kind of didn't get enough of the cards because of scalpers and bots and just low inventory to begin with. I believe that a large part of it is the bots, but another part of it is probably the fact that Nvidia intentionally limited the volume coming out at release time. If they had been better prepared and had a larger volume, it would have been nice. With video cards, you don't have to make them as they're needed, so it doesn't make sense to hype it up as this big release and then only have a small inventory when you know that you've been hyping it up. The only reason to do that is to increase demand for the card, to increase cost. If they had just wanted to sell the cards, they would have just had sales ready to go and they would have had those units ready to be shipped. Yeah, it does take time to produce those, but they've had a year or two that they've known that it was coming, that they could have been producing the various parts that were needed, stockpiling those parts and getting them ready for assembly. And so to me, it's like they're intentionally trying to impact the market to fluctuate the prices. Personally, it looks like the On the one side, they're trying to increase demand for the card itself to keep the price of the card up high, but also at the same time, they're trying to keep demand for the old series cards up high as well, so that those can be sold off, and not just the used market, but the new market. Because who's going to buy a brand new 2080 Ti for, $1,500 when you can buy the 3080 for $1,000? It makes no sense. There's literally no reason to do that. And who wants to sell a used 2080 Ti that they paid, $1,500 for? Who wants to sell it for $300, $400, $500? So they're, in a way, trying to, and this is my own opinion, they're trying to balance the demand of both cards at the same time, so they can get rid of old stock, get rid of new stock, but also make it so that those that have, say, 2080 Ti's can sell them and buy a 3080 and have a new card, and kind of do the upgrade path that everybody tries to do. But again, that's my own personal opinion and thoughts, and hopefully it's for the better reasons and not for just trying to use their, what do you call them? They have various companies that are subsidiaries that will buy the cards from the main companies and then turn around and sell them. And MSI has already been caught with one of their subsidiaries doing that using scalping prices and things for the 3080s or 3090s. And so hopefully it's not that they're all trying to do that, but they're just trying to balance everything. But honestly, I'm just speculating, because like I said, I'm not important enough for people to give me leaks and things like that directly from the manufacturers. I agree that the 3070 will likely change things again. I'm hoping for the better. I'm hoping they really do have a larger amount of stock and are able to send out more cards to people. I personally would love to get a 3070. I'm looking to buy one. I've got the money in the bank ready to go. I want to do one as an unboxing, like first week after it's starting sales, but I don't know that I'll be able to, because I'm not going to be able to fight the bots. So, and if it goes for more than 550, I won't be able to get one. So if they're scalping them, I won't be able to buy one. Now, I did hear that Nvidia, and this was just off of regular news, I heard that Nvidia is expecting low inventory issues like what's happening right now to be throughout the rest of this year and into next year sometime. So keep that in mind as well. Yeah, the price is one reason that it'll sell out, but another is scalpers and bots will be set to buy them instantly, so that they can take them and they can sell them for higher prices. Most likely what you'll see is a lot of scalpers selling them for between $700 and $1,000. At least that's my speculation based on previous events. Allergies, sorry. That's what they say, Lewis, but I don't know. They've been planning this for a while and they ran out, so hopefully they do get them back in stock though before Christmas time, and hopefully the 3070s have a larger inventory so that I can pick one up. I'm eager for one, not crying over it, but damn do I want one. I'm curious about the 6000 series from AMD as well. It should definitely be an interesting one. They're saying their flagship should match or be close to performance of the Nvidia one. If they can get a 6000 series card that matches or beats in certain instances the 3080, they will start retaking the market and they will be back in a favorable spot and be making some good money off of purchases. The main reason that I stick with Nvidia though is not because of necessarily performance of the card itself in gaming, although it is great to have that extra performance over the AMD side. I personally like the Nvidia cards because the NVENC encoder is better for streaming, so things like this turn out better with an Nvidia card. And if they have one that's at a comparable or better price and have it able to match or come close to the 3080, I wouldn't have a problem switching myself. My main desktop runs a 2080 Super, and I don't have a problem swapping it out for the 6000 series, which should still be better than the 2080 Super since it's supposed to be close to the 2080 Ti. Yeah, I used to love ATI cards back in the day, and they ran just as well as the Nvidia cards of the time. When AMD bought them out, AMD went from being a CPU maker to CPU and GPU maker, and I think they just didn't have the expertise needed to get what the people that were buying the cards wanted to the people, and I think they've realized what it is, but now they're fighting an uphill battle because they started down below and now they're trying to fight their way up and match or beat Nvidia, and it's going to be a difficult battle, and I do hope they are able to do it. And I'd love to see a third party like Intel is been in rumors for like a year and a half, 2 years now, saying that they're going to be releasing dedicated video cards, and if they do, and they are even relative to even the budget level stuff, that'll open up a new place to go and can make it much better for the pricing, because the price wars will begin with 3 cards in the setup. It'll be so much better with 3 manufacturers. Honestly, it's been really slow. I've had more trades and things like that than sales lately. I've got some stuff up on Mercari that I'm doing right now, but honestly, it's pretty hit and miss. Some days are good and some days are bad, and this month overall has been fairly poor on sales, so it's been rough. How about you, Lewis? You been doing good with sales? Well, hey, home improvement for making a studio is a good cause, man. I definitely want to see how it turns out. I don't know why I don't get the notifications, so I check on your videos about every week or so, usually around this time of the week. So tonight or tomorrow I'll hit your videos for you. Awesome, good, thank you. I was actually about to ask that question. The new mics are actually cheap Chinese ones. I think they were like 50 bucks, give or take, and it's a 2-pack. And they really have been doing really well overall. In fact, I can take a peek here and see. Orders. Mic. So they are currently $59.99 for a 2-pack. These are the ones that I've got. Yeah, it's on Amazon. They're 60 bucks. I mean, honestly, you can't beat a 2-pack of mics that are, independent and higher quality than what you get on stuff. You can't really beat 60 bucks for that. So I was really happy to see such a good price on them. I grabbed them, and I've been using them on my streams. This is the first time I've used it with my camcorder that I've got set up, so I'm glad that it's working well. And just so you guys can see an upcoming video for the end of the month, the last Tuesday, I'm hoping to do a stream including a 10 series CPU with a new motherboard. The unboxing video should be in the next week or so. And then either next Tuesday or the Tuesday after, I'll be doing a build stream where you'll get to see me live building the computer. And I will be using this new tool, which again, the video will be out in the next week or so. So it'll be fun. So any other items that want to be discussed? I'd like to make it at least 30 minutes today, maybe a little bit longer. Honestly, this is the first one that I've bought, Lewis. Haven't tried it yet. So this one here will be put into this motherboard, and we will see about doing that live on a stream, and then we can see about benchmarking it with Unigine Heaven. I don't do much with gaming because it's such an independent variable that each game will be different, but also based on even your home network setup, you can have different performance issues come up. So I don't usually benchmark specific games, but I'll do a Unigine Heaven benchmark with this. Yeah, I mean, what's Fortnite up to? It's up to like 200 gigs almost, I think. Call of Duty Warfare or Warzone or whatever, that one's like 200, 250 gigs. So they get pretty large, and that just takes forever to download, and updates aren't that much better. Even Apex Legends is a good like 100 gigs, and then the updates are anywhere from 10 to 50 gigs, depending on how much they're updating it. So one of the nice things though that I've seen is the new 10 series. They have hyper-threading on the i3s again, which hasn't been a thing since like the 5th or 6th gen. I'm pretty sure it was around the 6th gen, might have been 7th gen was the last one that they had hyper-threading on. 8th gen I know for sure did not. It was just a 4-core, 4-thread. Previous ones had been 2-core, 4-thread. But the new i3 is equivalent to basically an i7 from the 7th gen. So it's a huge improvement over what it had been in the past. I mean, it hasn't been that big of an update since like, well, 8th gen was basically a 6th or 7th gen i5. So if you can get, like, I think I showed you some prices of the 3900X. If you can find them for that price, then it's great. If not, then I'd wait until after the 5000 series is released. They skipped 4000 for desktops for some reason. I guess to make it less confusing, but the 5000 is going to be considerably more expensive. No cooler included with them, which means that's another $50 to $150 you're going to need to spend for a good cooler. And it's $50 more than the 3900X series was at release. So you're looking at anywhere from $100 to $200 more just for the CPU and a decent cooler. The 3900X has been doing me great. I'm going to get a better cooler than what I've got, because I don't know what it is, but for some reason I never get good coolers. All of them tend to be really hot CPUs, and I mean my idle is somewhere in the high 30s right now, low 40s, and when I'm running it, it hits up into the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and I'd like to get something that really runs cool and can keep it down in the mid 20s to low 30s at idle, and keep it in like the mid 50s for the under load. Can you hear me now? Okay, I had to switch back to standard mic on the camcorder. Hello, PogChomp. So I'll have to buy some new batteries. I seem to be out of AA batteries, so. Yeah, it's a lower quality mic. It's gonna bounce around some. This one just comes without batteries at all, the one that I got. It just, no batteries at all with it. I was hoping to be able to use this pack because it's chargeable, but it doesn't fit in there right, so. But I will see about ordering some AA batteries since I have a little bit of credit on Amazon. Let's see. Sweet. I was actually planning on doing a podcast myself. Maybe we can collaborate some on that. Yeah, I don't blame you, PogChomp. I only use this mic set because it's a little bit higher quality than the standard mic. And then on top of that, I am doing streams. So I use that mic instead of buying a headset. So I don't have a very good headset, just the Corsair Void one that I occasionally use for like video editing and stuff like that. And then I use this for everything else. I think I got the Void Pro headset that I've got. I think I bought it used for like $35 or something like that. Yeah, mine was like $35. Like new, so it was used but not heavily used. So I do have a Fifine mic, but it's a USB, so it doesn't plug into the camcorder. So I might see about using that though with streaming, because I can run it. It just uses up one of the very few USB ports on this laptop. It's only got 3 ports, so. Honest opinion, or one that will hopefully gain me support of some of the manufacturers. Honest opinion though, I'll say they have a purpose to fill, just not a very good purpose. In my opinion, most of them are complete garbage. In fact, I've got 3 kids. All 3 of them are given Chromebooks from school for doing schoolwork. Hello, that one dude. They each have a Chromebook, and there's 2 different brands that they're given, different models to each kid. HP and Dell, so it's not like one is being picked on here. They're just complete junk. They have too few resources for being functional. They need to basically double all of the resources that they have to become usable at all. They can't even, my kids can't even use the video chat function for talking to their teachers like they're given the laptops for. So I've got other computers that I've had to give them so they can use the cameras and stuff like that, because the Chromebooks don't function when you try to do more than one tab at a time. They come with like an average of 2 gigs of RAM, which is not enough for anything. They are Chrome-based OS, so you can't install anything, you can't run anything, which I can understand for school, that's fine. But for home use, they're junk. I wouldn't recommend them for anybody except a student that is solely using it for internet research and nothing else. If you have any other use for it, web chats, doing word processing while researching, those kinds of things do not function well with the multitasking. So I would recommend definitely a 5 to 10-year-old laptop over a Chromebook any day. So, and I think you did a video, yeah, you said video on it, so. Yeah, that one, dude. There are some that are really pricey, and I think the largest that I've seen them as far as resources is 4 gigs of RAM with 64 gig solid state drive built in. It's usually a non-replaceable solid state drive as well. It's eMMC drives, which are basically eSATA drives that are soldered to the board itself, and they just suck horrible. Yeah, Celerons are pretty poor overall. I've got a Celeron laptop that I've been trying to sell for 6 months now, and even at $200 I haven't been able to sell it. So and I want to say it's a 6th gen DDR3 system, but it might be 6th gen DDR4. Laptops are different than desktops. Some of the laptops, 6th gen Intels, run DDR3, whereas desktop ones only run DDR4 on 6th gen and up. Some Chromebook ads mark the Chromebook as a yeah, exactly. If you're lucky, you can play some Android games, but yeah, no, they can't game anything else except maybe wasn't it Google that has Stadia or something like that, which is a gaming platform that nobody has been able to successfully play hardcore competitive with. I think what they're marketing the game capable is the Stadia and the Nvidia games package, things like that, where you play off of a remote server, and so your internet lag is the biggest source of issue. So if you have a low ping, then you can play those games, but you have to take into account that your mouse will have a ping rate too, and so the ping between the mouse to the computer will increase the lag as well. So competitive gameplay will be out the door anyway. And yes, I don't remember what the price is. I'm sure it's like 10 or 20 bucks a month. That seems to be the going rate for most of the stuff, is $10 to $20 a month. Yeah, I agree, Lewis. It's kind of a waste because, and I don't refer to the capability of gaming as gaming being the main function for it. But if it can't game, then the performance on other things is going to be bad as well. Even as a workstation, those Chromebooks just aren't capable. And for a desktop, if you use minimum stuff, which like 4 gigs of RAM, Windows 10, and an i3 or a Celeron, you're just not going to get high performance on anything that you do, whether it's video editing, streaming, gaming, any of that kind of stuff. So if you want to be able to game, you're going to need to have decent specs. Same thing goes for those other tasks. If all you're doing is web browsing and writing, troubleshooting tickets, then yeah, an i3 can do it with 4 gigs of RAM and Windows 10. But even that tends to be an issue with the current software. Now, the Netflix videos offline is because the way that the operating system is built, it's essentially a Google Android, and you can actually get the app on your Android phones and download videos to watch offline. I've done it myself, and it is a feature that Netflix has for portable devices. So that's probably what they're referring to. However, my son has successfully been able to use his Chromebook to watch Netflix, but it's choppy no matter what. And his is the newest of the 3, so... Have I heard about the new AMD card coming out? The 6000 series, I've only heard the name, and that it's supposed to be their Nvidia killer, which every generation of card has had an Nvidia killer. I would love to see it match the 3080, which is what it's supposedly going to do. But then again, the 5700 XT or whatever was supposed to match the 2080 Ti. So if the 6900 XT matches the 3080 and is a better price, then it will be a great card. And by matching, I compare the match to the same as the 2080 Ti versus the 3080. They say that, or was it 3070? Some items will match or exceed on the new, and some will be slightly worse. I know, I thought it sucked so bad that the Radeon 7 wasn't as good as it was supposed to be. I wanted to buy one, and I almost got one about 3 or 4 months ago, but bills came up and I ended up not being able to buy a video card. But I was looking forward to using it because it has the 16 gigs of HBM memory, which is high bandwidth memory. And that memory mixed with the machine that I have would have made for one hell of a editing rig. I thought the look of the Radeon 7 was better than any of the previous releases of reference cards. I'm not a fan of blower style cards, no matter which manufacturer it is. So it was definitely nicer than the reference style from before. I hope that the 6900 XT is as good with the blower style, not being a blower style. I mean, depending on how quickly the 3070s come out, I may I may get a 6900 XT, just because if it's priced in that reasonable price of 400 to 550, then it'll be worth it for me, and I might just grab one of those. Yeah, Lewis, the one that I was getting was brand new. It was, I want to say, an Asus model, but it might have been an ASRock. But it was brand new from Amazon. It was like 500, 600 bucks. So, and it was brand new, full warranty, all that. That one, dude, they do typically in normal cases get hotter than normal cards do. The reason is the way that the blower works, but they work great in like pre-builts. So if you had bought like an HP Omen or something like that, they're better performance in that than a standard like 3-fan would be. Exactly, Lewis. It's the poor airflow cases, because they pull the air from one direction, blow it straight out of the case, and that way it doesn't get blown up into the rest where the CPU is. And just so that you all know, last Tuesday of October, which is, let's see, the 27th, it'll be 2 days after my birthday, and I am planning on doing a build live on stream. The worrying is probably the cooling system on this laptop. It's getting warm, so it's blowing pretty good. Either that or, no, that's probably it from what I'm hearing. I mean, it could potentially be my ceiling fan, but I doubt it. See, now that's a loud whirring. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, because they're still reasonably powerful cards, and they were selling for like $700 new. So they're gonna be on the used market. I might look on Amazon again and see if there's a good price on one there. But anything over 600 just isn't worth that card. You know, buying that card for over 600. I'm figuring I'll either get a 3070 sometime between now and Christmas if they're in stock again, or the 6900 XT if it's at a similar price to this 3070. But if it's priced more like the 3080 at the $800 to $1,000 range, then I won't be buying one. So at least not for a while, long while. Yeah, unfortunately, scalpers are going to do that, and it's crazy how they're able to get away with it. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, those cards aren't going to sell for that much. They're not even going to sell for close to that much when they're used. So you're going to buy it now just to get it ahead of time. You're going to spend double the value on it, only to have a card that's worth half the cost, and that you can't get can't get anything out of it. it's insane. I wish there was a way around scalpers for getting pre-ordered stuff at a better price, but that's how they make their money. So. Yeah, and that's what I referred to earlier in the stream was MSI is they have a subsidiary that bought a bunch of the cards from MSI, turned around and sold them at a marked up price, and they got busted for it. I mean, come on now, Starlight Technologies or whatever, come on. How are people not going to associate that with MicroStar? Come on. I've bought some of their cards, but I'm now staying further away from them. One of my all-time favorites was I had a GTX 1070 Ti MSI Duke Edition, and that card performed as well as most 1080s did. So this motherboard that I have is an MSI, but it was only because it was the cheapest cost-wise that I could find for a motherboard for the 10 series, because budget is king here and I cannot afford to buy the higher end stuff, so I buy budget, and it works just as well as the more expensive stuff 9 out of 10 times. Oh, those Thunderbird chips were awesome back in the day. Oh yeah, well they didn't even have, what do they call them, IHCs, the integrated heat coolers, the heat spreaders, the IHS, integrated heat spreaders, the silver tops, they didn't even have those back then, so it was straight to the die, so it was raw heat right off the die. So. Now here's a question for you, Lewis. Did you ever accidentally crack one of the dies by tightening the cooler too tight, or was it before your time as a tech? I've never done it, but I've known people that have. Like, you tighten it just a little too tight and it would snag it just right, and it would just crack off the tip of the corner or something, and then the whole CPU was done in. Yep. Laptops I almost did once. There was a similar with the older, even the i series from the Core i series from Intel, up until I want to say first or second gen of laptop ones was still straight die. Almost broke one. Yeah, I had a customer that had to replace their motherboard because they tried building the system themselves, and this is just recently, just a Ryzen system, and they tightened the cooler so tight that the board flexed, and when it flexed, they added a little bit too much pressure and it cracked the motherboard on the inside, and it no longer registered CPUs at all, and so there went a motherboard. It was just I want to say an A320. It wasn't anything spectacular, but they ended up having to buy a better motherboard because of it. Well, even some of the current AMD ones are like that. I've got a couple that are the Max coolers from Ryzen series with the Ryzen 9s. You've got to get a screwdriver in there to get it just right sometimes. But I know the ones you're talking about. Yeah, and even these Ryzen Max series coolers, they can be a pain to get off, and if you're not careful, you can snag something you shouldn't, and it'll do some damage. So it took me a while to get mine off carefully because I used it with my Ryzen 9. It came with the Max cooler, and so I used that for a little while I was trying to figure out what cooler to use, and putting it on was a bit of a hassle, but taking it off was far worse. So you know, with Intel, in fact, I think I've got one over here. Give me one quick second off screen. Sorry about that. So this one you can see, if you look, probably can't see it. The tip on this one of the four corners is missing half of the piece, where it's got the piece that goes up like this, and then the pin goes up to spread it out. One of those sides is I shouldn't do that, but one of the sides is missing, and so it no longer clasps into place. And the sad part is that it's one of the nicer, older style ones with the copper core, which dissipates heat even better. Oddly enough, though, I have an i7 that's running, that I was trying to put that on. It's an i7 8086K, which is the next step up from the 8700K. And in my computer, it was running the 35-40 degrees at idle. And that was with a Corsair all-in-one cooler. I mean, it should have been running like 25-30 range, not 35-40 range. And I put a newer stock cooler, one without the copper core, just a regular aluminum core, and a smaller set, and it is running cooler than it was with an all-in-one. But it's also in my open air case that is my test bench so that I can swap RAM and video cards quickly. So unfortunately, I got rid of my 2600X dirt cheap. The guy made a stealing on it, but I needed the cash. So yeah, for this build currently, I've got a Cooler Master all-in-one in it, and it just is not keeping it cool. And so I don't know what the issue is. I'm going to try one thing, adjusting one thing. The fans, because of the case, there's a bracket, and I've got fans mounted on the side closest to the front panel, and then it's got two fans on the back of it as well. And it is just running too hot for my likes. And so what I'm going to try doing is I'm going to swap the fans, take off the two on the back and move them back a little bit to give it some space, see if that helps. And if not, then I'm going to go with probably an NZXT. I was thinking about the Deep Cool. I've used them in the past for my wife's computer, in fact, just before this current build. Yeah, it's an NZXT H510 case. So The H510i from NZXT is the case, and it does tend to have bad airflow. The best airflow scenario is a rear exhaust and a top exhaust if you're doing air cooling, and then water coolers go on the front if you're doing water or AIO, and that way you put the rad up front, and that's supposed to be the best case scenario for setting that up. And that's how I've got just one rear fan and then the AIO, because the motherboard, I couldn't fit a top fan on the case. But I'm going to try moving it back a little bit so that instead of being around the front and back of the bracket, that it's just going to be behind it with two fans instead of two in front of the bracket and two in behind the radiator, and see if maybe that helps. Might just take off the front panel altogether. It's not that big of a deal to me. So Lee is an awesome manufacturer of cases. My open air case is a Lee open air case that I got for like 60 or 70 bucks on Amazon 2 or 3 years ago. It's basically just a little bit of a box that holds the power supply and drives and like the cables to the USB, and then it's got front USB, and then it's got just the little IO section on the back, and everything else just standoffs, and it just sits on top of the box, and easy to swap out cards and things. Well, it is approaching 7. I think I'm going to call it a night for the stream. Feel free to leave any questions or comments down below in the comments section after the stream goes to normal video section. And if you have any questions you want to ask live on stream, hopefully next Tuesday I'll be live as well. So hope you all have a great day. Thank you for chatting, everyone. I do appreciate it. Have a great night. Bye for now.